Live. We're live. Hi. Good evening, good afternoon. Well, if you're watching live, I'm just moving my chair. If you're watching live, good evening. If you're in the UK, good morning. If you're in the US, or good afternoon, good night. Anyway, tonight, good night. Yes, good night. So, sleep.
Oh, yes.
So, let's talk about this big topic of sleep. It's something that I had issues with. I never used to have issues with sleep before. For the longest time, maybe into my 30s, as soon as put my pillow, my pillow on my head on my pillow, 10 seconds and I'm out. That's how good it was. But then, of course, things happen in life,
Yeah.
and I just think it created so much anxiety for me. And I think of, when you go to they do interrogations, the illegal ones in places like Guantanamo and any other place really, and you see in the movies, what's
Yeah.
one of the biggest torture instruments? Sleep deprivation.
Sleep deprivation. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a good indicator that when you've been sleep deprived, you can go mad, you can go mental, and
Yeah.
it's a form of torture. Keep that in mind. So, my name is Haroon Rabbani. I'm a health coach, functional medicine person who specializes in psychology. And do you want to say a bit about yourself? A couple of
Yes.
lines?
Good evening, everybody from the UK. I am Dr. Ashish, and I specialize in natural fertility and, of course, women's health as well. And I'm Doctor of Ayurvedic medicine and a medical herbalist. So, yeah, it is all about natural medicine, and it's actually we are probably two opposite people as far as sleeping is concerned, because I sleep like a log. Once
Mm.
I'm asleep, I'm dead. But yeah, sleep is a big issue for a lot of people.
Let's talk about the consequences. So people are, and I really hope the young people are listening. And if I can get it started, so I spoke last week actually. So I was speaking at a school a couple of days. I had 12 different workshops with these 14, 15-year
Yeah.
olds, and one of the things I emphasize is the importance of protection of sleep. Why? And I asked them the simple question: have any of you ever gone to sleep late, or you wake up tired and you're in a bad mood? Well, what happens when you're in bad mood? You make bad decisions.
Yeah.
And so it's the case whether you're a school, like pupil, a 6-year-old or a 16-year-old, whether you're in college, university, or whether you're a business leader, your decisions influence your reality. So one of the things is mood swings. What else, Ashish? What else happens when someone's not sleeping well?
When they're not sleeping well, they or not sleeping at all, or sleeping less, or not sleeping at the right time, they are not balancing their hormones, they are not balancing their blood sugar levels, they are not having the all the what we call the growth hormones, which
Mm,
get refilled or recalibrated. They will not be having any of that. They're not having the deepest restful sleep for them, and the impact it will have obviously on the mood, the motivation, the energy to work through the day, and also sexual energy. Everything is kind of downhill for the person. And yes, you can boost it up for a little while, with coffee and with other things, and
mm.
you can do, but it's a very vicious cycle. And then, yeah.
I often think about myself. You mentioned coffee. I remember as a university student, I could have black coffee late at night and it wouldn't affect my sleep. But it doesn't mean that it isn't affecting my hormones. So one of the hormones that are released when you're tired is adenosine, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, which basically helps you sleep. When you're tired, it lets you know you're tired, and that's your body talking to you. But oh my god, goodness, godness, we can spend. I am from India, well, actually Bangladesh, so that's why sometimes I say, "Oh my
It's the
godness."
same. It's the
It's the
same.
same. It's the same. So not being able to sleep, there are so many habits that we do. But let's talk about, first of all, one of our favorite topics, certainly one of yours. Let's talk about, um, obviously, there's a spiritual side, mental side, physical side, but let's talk about body constitution, because I didn't realize until you mentioned it the other week, that actually your body constitution has a lot to do with your ability to sleep. Let's talk about three body constitutions in that context.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as we know that we in Ayurvedic medicine or holistic medicine, we talk about body and mind constitution. who you are as a person. And in Ayurveda, we have Vata, Pitta, Kapha. And I'm going to keep repeating every episode, at least briefly, so that, it starts to get in your head as well. Is that your personality, who you are as a person, how you think, and your habits are coming from who you are. Yeah, how you digest, how you sleep. And sleep is one crucial one, which then affects everything else around you as a person. So different constitutions have different ways of sleeping. So the Vata person, sleeps the lightest. Yeah, they'll be the first one to wake up in the house. If there's any noise, if there's any light, they don't like light, too much light. So
Yep.
exactly. And so the best way to find out who's Vata in your household is the person who sleeps the lightest, who wakes up at any noise, and they don't like light. For example, my daughter, she doesn't like too much light. Even as a baby, she just hated that light. So that's how their sleep is. Pitta people sleep fairly okay, but if they become too hot, because they are warm by nature, so if they become too hot, or the hotter days like we now have in the summer, they'll sleep less. Their sleep will be affected. So they should be in a cooler room where there is ventilation, where the window is open. And I remember, because I do have a lot of pitta in me, and myself and my late husband, we always had a window open. Always,
Yeah.
even in the winter, always had a window open. So pitta people, that's how their sleep is. They can sleep well, but if it becomes too hot in the room, then their sleep gets affected. Then kapha people are the ones who sleep the most. And of course, it's most easiest for them to fall asleep, and they go deeper into sleep. Also, one important thing to remember: how does the daytime sleeping affects the constitution? Okay, so Vata
Right.
people are the ones who can have naps, 5 minute nap, 10 minute nap during the day, power naps as we call them. Now, power naps are not powerful for everyone. Okay, power naps are horrible for me. If I sleep 5 minutes during the day, my whole night routine is just gone out of the window completely. So I've never slept during the day. Uh, as you know, in India and Bangladesh, people sleep at noontime because it's so hot. And I used to paint, I used to do other things, but I could never sleep. So Vata people can have wonderful naps, power naps, or it is good for their mind to have that rest of 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Pitta, reasonably. Kapha should never sleep during the daytime, should not have a power nap. So that's,
Wow, that's significant. This is so important what you've just said, because if you Google stuff, traditional stuff, you'll find that people will be recommended power naps, of course. And what
yeah,
you're saying is terrible. And also, this is quite interesting because very often a Vata person will not necessarily be living with a Vata person, so you'll be very different. Or Pitta. I mean, it doesn't mean it doesn't happen,
yeah,
which explains to me why it's so important for me at nighttime. I've always had the window open, and it's quite interesting when the window is shut, because when I'm staying at a hotel or something, I feel like I'm suffocating.
yeah,
It absolutely, and that in itself makes me anxious. It causes anxiety, so I
yeah,
get very claustrophobic. So please note, for those of you watching the live, when you watch replay again, make sure you share it because it makes such a difference. One other thing I want to add is one of my closest friend, used to be, who we're not in touch with anymore. That was like 20 years ago. But when I moved to London, way back more than 20 years now, um, we stayed at his place when I was still married. We stayed at his place as a guest, and we were there for a month or so. And I wake up super early, and I couldn't understand how people would sleep in on a Sunday till 10 o'clock. I'm like, 6 o'clock, I'm up. What's wrong with these people? But they thought there was something wrong with me. So there's plenty of room for conflict, whether you're in a couple, whether you're
yeah,
a friendship. It's actually quite significant to understand your body constitution, your body type. And if you go to the link we're going to put up after the live, or if you're watching the
yeah,
replay, go to the show notes, the description, click on the link. It will send you to Ashish's website where you can do a questionnaire to find out what your body type it is absolutely critical. So carry on.
Yes, so I am getting dosha questionnaires filled in as well. So thank you for those who filled in. And I do send very brief notes just to get you started because it takes a while to go deeper on this subject, on to understand your body mind constitution, is to obviously have a consultation so that you can work one on one with the practitioner and really understand what is good for you, how your body and mind and your hormones and everything works according to the body constitution.
It's
So, yeah.
so go ahead.
No, no, tell me.
Okay, so let's talk about coffee for a moment. So moving on to coffee. Now, I know for me, I used to be able to drink coffee anytime, no problem. I'd just be able to sleep. Now, if I drink coffee anytime after, let's say, 3 o'clock, forget that night's sleep.
Yeah.
So, what's the situation with coffee? Is it actually bad for you? Is it good for you? Or what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think everybody has a cutoff point for coffee. Okay. And you need to know that cutoff point for your own body and mind. How is it affecting your sleep? If you have coffee really late at night, like 11 o'clock, this probably won't affect the sleep and you straight away go to bed. It will affect your functioning next day because it's going to be in your system. You just slept on it. You didn't give enough time for it to function through your system. But coffee or tea, for example, people who have black tea or black coffee, all of those caffeinated drinks, they do have a cutoff point. So you should, and again, that will depend on your constitution. So if you're a vata, you have a different cutoff point as compared to if you're a kapha. And finding that cutoff point, that okay, for me, I can have even 3 cups in the first half of the day up to 2 o'clock or so. After that, none. Yeah. But generally, if we are talking about just generally when you should stop, I think after 3 o'clock, you shouldn't have any coffee or tea if it affects your sleep that way.
Right. Okay. And then that's worth keeping in mind. Are there any particular foods in context of sleep that people shouldn't be eating? Which will affect their sleep. According to Ayurveda, anyway.
Yes, according to Ayurveda, it is one thing is which is going to affect your sleep is if you're eating late at night. So any food that you're, especially people who have got late dinners after 7, after 8, especially after 8, then you are sleeping on that full tummy. And by the time it's going to digest, it's going to take longer to digest anyway because you are not mobile, right? So that, first of all, will affect your sleep. And secondly, the foods that affect sleep are the ones that create what we call vata. So foods that create a lot of wind in your system. Light foods, for example, salads, all kinds of different salads, cucumbers, peppers. So if you are having just salad as a meal, then there should be some kind of cooked, like a bit of salmon in it or some other cooked food in it, or some lentils in it. So to calm down that vata, or some spices, warming spices. Yeah. Otherwise, that wind is going to create issues when you're sleeping. Yeah.
Right.
One, that you can have abdominal pain. Two, that you are releasing wind, which is going to make you uncomfortable, and you may not be able to have enough good deep sleep.
And if you're sleeping next to someone, you've got a lot of wind. It's going to make them very uncomfortable as well. So please be very compassionate about your partner or whoever's partner. You shouldn't be
Or your
sleeping in
kids.
or your kids. Yeah, yeah. If you're sleeping in the same room or something, you're on holiday.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going camping, you don't want to do that. Okay, so it's more to do with timing. So let's talk about the circadian rhythm. I mean, again, we're just scratching the very surface of the surface, really. I mean, there's entire books and research done on this whole area. Let's talk about circadian rhythm. So, one of the brilliant scientists, sleep scientist, Dr. Sachin Panda, absolutely amazing. Based in the US, and one of the things he talks about is the type, well, red light and blue light, and the time you should be waking up. Let's talk about the lights first. What are the red lights? What are the blue lights? Okay, can you share?
Um, my knowledge on this is probably a bit limited.
Right.
So light does have an impact, and they are talking about like we have shared in the past episodes as well that to have light first thing in the morning, not straight looking at the sun, but sunlight passing in your room or coming into your room, or going out to get the sunlight. And then different lights have different impact. I need to probably do more research on this and then talk about it.
Yeah, but
But
I can share, definitely.
yeah,
I mean, I can share, which is this, that, yeah, totally agree. First thing in the morning. Now, a lot of people have said to me in the past, and by the way, that includes me, said to myself, since I sleep so late, how the heck am I going to wake up? Well, there's a bit of mathematics, but also a lot of science in it, which is if you're sleeping 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, what you do is very simple. Following day, you just think, whenever you wake up and you go for a walk outside, you stand outside, and I do that every day, almost don't do it every day, which is this. I go into the garden first thing in the morning, 6, 7, whatever time I get there, and because that's where the sun comes up from my side,
yeah,
and I look towards the sun. There are sensors in your eyes besides the rods and cones, nerve cells, which actually trigger the release of melatonin
yeah,
16 hours after that first initial contact. It can't be through the window. You have to look directly in the direction, not at the sun, like you mentioned, but in that direction. So if you wake up at 6 a.m. and you're doing that little exercise, then by 2200, which is 10 p.m.,
yeah,
you'll have such amounts of melatonin production, which is basically your sleep hormone. You
mm,
will sleep. It will not be a problem. A lot of people, what they try to do is they say, okay, I'm going to sleep half an hour earlier today and see what happens, what time I wake up. It doesn't work. I've tried it. I've tried all sorts of methods. And so just wake up early. Second thing is lighting lights. So what Dr. Sachin Pandit recommends is this, that after, I can't remember the exact time, but I think it's after 4 or 5 p.m.
mm,
Basically, in the evening, literally what he has is, instead of having the white lights, light bulbs, they
yeah,
have dimmers and they
dim the
have
light.
red lights. Or, you know what, use candles, because it's that powerful. When you're looking at a computer screen, like I am now, when you're looking on a smartphone, you've got this light, this blue light coming in. It's a blue light,
Yeah,
one of the lights anyway, coming in, and it's going to activate, not it's going to suppress your production of melatonin. So couple of very big takeaways, and it's so important. It is about lifestyle management, guys. The consequences of you not sleeping, is it worth it? Is it worth the mental distress, the physical distress? And we'll talk about the organs in a moment. The physical, is it worth all that distress? Because if your physical body is anxious, so will be your mind and your spiritual side as well. So by turning your lights down, I mean, my lights go very dim, after a quarter like this. Turning your lights down, number one. Number two is very important, social media. Get off it. I know some of you work using it, I do, and Ashish does. Do
yeah,
your best to put your social media at the earlier part of the day rather than nighttime. And I've found, and I've experimented with my own body and mind, and a number of things I've done in the past, which is this. I'll get a phone and I'll scroll TikTok or whatever. And you can't guarantee what information you're going to see. So sometimes it's good stuff, and sometimes it's very depressing stuff or
yeah,
horrible stuff. And what does that do? It makes you anxious. And
yeah,
so if you're anxious, what's going to happen? So strong suggestion is how you, at the latest, you should eat 4 hours before you go to bed. That's at the latest, preferably early on in the day, at the latest. However, when it comes to social media and basically screen watching, including television, watching what didn't work on the screen, people make excuses. I'll be honest with you, Ashish. What they do is they make, I kid you not, this is the biggest thing. If you look at somebody who is unhealthy, generally, not everybody, but generally, look at someone who's unhealthy, especially with a chronic condition, then it's a lifestyle condition,
yeah,
and it's a condition where their body, in their mind, their body is not an important priority. And I've seen it with people time and time again.
yeah,
So
One thing
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
regarding the light is, even though I don't know exactly about the blue and the red light, but one thing that is mentioned about the light, and this information comes from one of the episodes of Dr. Huberman, is that at nighttime, once you have dimmed the lights, or if you cannot do that, you are working late one evening, but once you go to bed, right, then even the 10-second looking at your screen or something else with bright light can disrupt the whole night pattern.
Wow.
So that's an important message to take. So even if, for example, I keep my phone with me because I don't have a landline, and it is for emergency purposes, I keep it with me, but I completely dim the light, so I cannot really see the screen very well. Yeah, I will be able to hear the if there anybody rings for emergency reasons. But that's, of course, this is for those people where sleep is disturbed. I don't have sleep issues. I can go back to sleep very quickly. But what they are saying is that even a fraction of second. So also another thing to mention, if you get up and go to bathroom to use toilet, or you want to go and wee, then also the light should be dimmed, or
Yeah.
there should be minimal amount of light. So yeah, that's for those. Of course, we are talking about insomnia, people who have got trouble sleeping, or they wake up at night and then finding it difficult to go back to sleep. Then these are the measures that you can take, so that evening time is dim light if possible, or at least once you have gone to sleep, make sure that lighting is really dim.
That's
Safe enough for you to see, but yeah.
brilliant, brilliant. And so let's go back to one of the things you mentioned about temperature. That, and I think a lot of people don't understand this. It's a bit like it's a bit like when somebody has a child and the child's got fever. The thing that people very often do is get a medication, Calpol or something, to get rid of the fever. But the fever is a very good indicator. It's very good because the body's temperature is going up to kill off the infections.
Yeah.
So same with sleep, and it's something that I learned much later on in life, of course, is that your body temperature, your room temperature needs to drop significantly.
Yeah.
I mean, is there any explanation from Ayurveda that why your body temperature needs to drop so much to sleep?
um that will only make sense in the context of constitution, as I've already mentioned.
Mm,
But we know this information to do with the babies. When children are little, or they're babies, we keep the room temperature, they say, under 18 degrees Celsius, to keep it really cool, because they cannot regulate the body temperature. Also, what is, I think, for example, here in the UK at least, even in the summer, people do take duvets, light duvets, or even the heavier ones, because we are so used to taking the duvets here. So what can happen, that you can overheat when you are asleep and you have a duvet on, unless your body is really kind of aware, and even in your sleep you kick your duvet off. But some of it is going to stay on you, and there are more chances of you getting overheated. I think that's one of the reasons that I can think of,
yeah,
and I know, practically speaking, but other reasons are to do with your body constitution.
right. Okay, and so what's what can we say about yoga? Let's talk about yoga. There's traditional hatha yoga, of course. Um, and there's one particular yoga technique that I want to share, but is there, which is, I don't know the exact Sanskrit name, but it's called legs up the wall. So legs up the wall, in essence, as it sounds, and I do it. I do it kind of almost every night, to be honest. What I do is I'll lie on the bed with my backside feet facing the wall
Yeah.
against the headstand, and I put my legs literally up the wall. I won't do it here because, well, you won't see me from this camera position. And
No.
I'll stay in there 15 minutes and just relax and go into a meditative state or just breathe slowly. So one of the things it does is it improves digestion. It slows your heart rate. And what was fascinating for me to watch is in an emergency room, like say for example, in a hospital emergency room, someone's having a heart attack. One of the things I've noticed they do is they actually lift their posterior and get their lungs high up in the
Yeah.
air
Yeah.
to bring their heart rate down. Isn't that absolutely mind blowing? Are there any other specific either breath work techniques or exercises people could do just to calm their body down and their mind down?
Absolutely, of course. The evening is, according to Ayurveda and according to yoga, actually, yoga should be done in the first half of the day. And same with exercise, any kind of strenuous exercise should be done in the first half of the day. That's when body has energy. Neuroscience is proving this even more, but we already know this from holistic perspective. Evening, in the evening, body is tired. There is more cortisol. You're going to need to work harder, and you're not going to see as much result as you would see if you're working the first half of the day. So evening exercise is only very gentle exercise to bring body down, to ground it, as we say. Grounding is hugely important for anybody who does a lot of mental work, especially for Vata people, and they're doing mental work. They need to feel grounded and, rooted, so that they can then have a good night's sleep. So for that, gentle walking is good after having food, and it's a gentle stroll, not running. That's bad idea. And even power walking is not recommended after food anyway. So gentle walk around the block or in the house. You might be cleaning the whole kitchen, and while you take the pace, gentle pace around that, and certain postures, certain like Shavasana is one of the great postures to lie down and slow your breath down as much as you can. Now, this is very hard for a lot of people. If you're not used to breathing work, if you're not used to yogic breath, then it is going to be very difficult for them. But I normally say to count down, yeah, to slow your breath. So you count from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out. Inhale to the count of 7, exhale to the count of 7 or 9. So exhalation is always a little longer, and that brings your heart rate down. That brings your whole awareness, consciousness, even, as I said, rooted or calm down. And that way that's the first starting point. If you don't know how to slow your breath, count. And you can count as long as you want. 1, 2, 3. If you count faster, then you can count longer. But that will help to really bring people's energy down in the evening. And you mentioned about looking at maybe social media or reading books or to slow down. So if you're reading a thriller novel, it's not going to slow you down in the evening. Yeah. So, or if you're watching a I don't know, serial killer series or something, it is not going to slow you down. So you want something which is gentle, maybe some kind of personal development stuff, something which is bringing calmness to your body, to your mind, and it's not racing your heart.
Hmm. And one of the things you can do also is, you don't need to be glued to a screen. One
Yeah.
of the things that, especially if you've got someone with ADHD, is to have background noise. It's called white noise, basically. So it's like, or, which might just be literally sound
Yeah.
along to, and you can get that on YouTube or Spotify or somewhere. The other thing is to have very light music. And I want to emphasize, just coming back to one of the things you mentioned, which is the breath work. And so for people who want to go a bit more geeky on that, when you're taking your in breath, of course, that's activating your sympathetic nervous system, which is all about not just fight or flight, but it's the activation system. When you're breathing out, you're activating your parasympathetic nervous system, which is all about slowing you down, calming you down. Now, if you look at the two, it generally you want balance. First thing in the morning, of course, you got a big surge of the fact that you're waking up, you have a big surge of cortisol. That's actually what wakes you up. And so your sympathetic nervous system is a lot more active. But you still, throughout the day, and these are measurable, of course, throughout the day, they need to be in balance. However, when it comes to nighttime, you're going the other way around. So the out breath is activating your parasympathetic nervous system. This is when healing takes place. So one of the things that I've emphasized to people how, and researchers should borne this out, shown this, which is this, that between the hours of 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. solar timing,
Yeah.
wherever you are in the world, between those hours, ballpark approximately 2 hours, your brain actually has a system for cleansing the toxins. It's like a sewage system. And your body has a system called the lymphatic system. Well, the brain has that as well. It's called the glymphatic system. And literally, your brain cells shrink to allow this fluid to um, do the cleaning for you, do the cleanup operation. Now, here's the challenge though. Now, remember, if you're someone who's anxious, someone who worries a lot, you're going to create toxins in your head. If you're the food that you eat, a lot of people are taking foods for their brain health, well, adaptogens and so forth. Now, in order for your lymphatic system to be activated, so your brain cleansing system, you have to be asleep. So imagine this: if you're somebody who suffers from anxiety or depression and you can't sleep, you end up sleeping at say 11 p.m. That's the earliest you sleep. Well, you've just missed the 2 hour window. So again, please, it's not. It's a lifestyle. It's a habit. Habits take approximately, according to University College London, 66 days to form. So make the habits of waking up early as your prime objective, not sleeping early. That will happen automatically because your
Yeah.
body needs 16 hours. But, you know, what are the organs? I mean, what does Ayurveda say about your different organs, its operating system when it's most active and most inactive? Is there anything you want to share at this moment related to
Uh,
sleep?
in relation to sleeping, this is more to do with overall body's rhythm to calm down. I mentioned growth hormones, which get recalibrated in sleep, and you mentioned the 2 hours window, which is when it's the deepest part of your sleep. So that is crucial to achieve, and it only happens at a certain time. It's not that we think, oh, I can sleep at 2 a.m. Doesn't matter as long as I sleep 8 hours, is not the correct way. So you still need to sleep around, say, latest 10 so that you catch that deepest part of your sleep. So it is different organs, as you have asked, not any organ in particular that I can relate to, but it is about balancing of the hormones will get balanced. Anything that needs to come down will come down. Anything that needs to be elevated will be elevated. And of course, there are a lot of complex systems that are going on in our body as well. And sugar levels, get calibrated at nighttime as well, so that it's adjusting itself. But that adjustment only happens when it is when the body is at rest, when body is not engaged in either eating or drinking or thinking or running or walking, right? So nighttime is the best time to calibrate that. So that's what I would say, not anything in particular to do with organs.
Yeah, one of
Was there any other thing you wanted to?
No, 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 that's fine. I mean, I guess there's a lot to do with Chinese medicine. We
Right.
can talk
Okay.
about that another time. What I was wanted to say was that one of the most powerful things that my clients do, I've been guiding them to do for many, many years, is actually do a meditation, whether that be a 10 minute, 20 minutes, half an hour. I think one of them are on this call. Um, they'll do it for an hour, 2 hours, whatever works for you, but go for minimum, aim for minimum 20 minutes. And the idea of meditation is, of course, creating space between your thoughts, just
Yeah.
to slow your mind down. Doing that, I mean, remember, it's like, imagine you're perfect as you are. Imagine your body has got everything it needs to heal itself. Well, the time it heals is when you're asleep. Again, consider the options: sleep deprivation versus getting 8 hours sleep. And so please keep that in mind, make that priority. Now, for anyone, is there any other herbs that people would consider? Because I know people can take sleeping tablets, which I don't recommend. Is there any particular type of herbs that would help in sleeping?
Absolutely. Ayurveda actually recommends the whole evening ritual, how you should prepare yourself to sleep. After you have taken food, then if it is winter season, you can apply gentle sesame oil to your feet, or you can also apply some ginger oil to your sleep if you're somebody whose feet are very cold and they don't help you sleeping. So there is a whole ritual by the time you actually sleep. And the thing that you have asked me was, sorry, I've just lost the thought.
Okay, so is there any particular herbs people think of?
Herbs,
Yeah.
yes. There are lots and lots of herbs that we do have herbs which are hypnotics that help you to actively go sleep, which will be like a modern drug sedative. It will work like that. We do have gentle calming herbs which help the body to calm down. We have herbs which work via the gut, so that your gut gets really calm, and that's how your mind gets calmer. Right? We have direct link between the gut and the brain. So we have herbs such as chamomile. Well, actually, I speak of both Ayurvedic and Western herbs because I'm trained in both of them. We have Brahmi, which is one of the wonderful, I love, love, love Brahmi, which works on your brain, improves the mental health and sleep as well.
How do you spell that? Because I've not heard of it. Literally, this is new to me.
Oh, okay. This is Brahmi, Brahmi.
Brahmi. Okay, I've not heard of that. Okay, and where would someone get hold of that? Something like that. Amazon?
Call me.
Okay, call you. Okay, there you go.
You can get it from me, but Brahmi is it's easily available online. So you can do your own research into it and find it's available as capsules, and you can take at a bedtime. Chamomile works really well. Chamomile taken as tea. And when you take tea, you got to take, again, the dose has to be adjusted according to how much sleep one requires. We also have valerian, for example. A lot of people take valerian. Valerian is a very, very, I find it a very moody herb. For some people, it works great. I take valerian and nothing happens. So again, it's to do with your constitution as well, right? Gentle, calming, any herb which calms your brain is going to help you to put you to sleep. Lavender is one of the great ones. It's a cooling herb, right? So it helps you to cool your nervous system down, and then you can take it as a tea. So there are many other herbs as well. But again, as I always say, go to a practitioner, find out which herb is good for you, and then take them.
Yeah, so basically go take the ones that work in accordance to your body. Brilliant. So like I mentioned, such a big topic. We're not going to cover everything all in one go. But I want to add one final thing, unless you can think of something else you want to add, which is this. This works wonders. I've mentioned it many times before. A lot of people struggle with sleep because they have a lack of magnesium in their body. The magnesium, of course, is needed for over 300 chemical reactions. And I found it works wonders. So what I do is I don't take tablets. I actually use a magnesium oil spray. In essence, it's magnesium flakes mixed with distilled water. It works wonders. So I found that to help really, really well for my body.
Sure.
Not just help me sleep, but also recover as well. Now, so we're coming rapidly to the end of this episode. I know we don't have a fixed time. Is there anything else we should suggest, add, recommend that you think from the world of Ayurveda or from the Western world that might be helpful?
Absolutely. So sleep issue is more of a lifestyle issue for most people, unless you have a chronic pain of any kind, or you have given birth, you're a nursing mother, or other issues or other diseases you have because of which you cannot sleep. But sleep is more of a lifestyle issue, and it's a habit that you have inculcated over the years, and it's going to take some time for you to rewind it. And the one thing that is going to work for you is to do sleep ritual, and that has to be done every single day, same thing, same time, right? Which means that you go for maybe gentle walk, maybe you have gentle massage, maybe you read, maybe you do some yoga, maybe you do some breathing exercise. But you have to, even if it's 2 minutes each, right? You have half an hour of overall ritual by the time you go to sleep. But you have to have that consistent timing to say to yourself, okay, 9:30, I log off everything. because it's going to take me half an hour to go to sleep. So in that half an hour, you'd wind down, lights dim, everything. But that 9:30 has to be every single day of the
Yeah.
year.
Yeah. And so weekends, some people might say, oh, it's a
No.
weekend now, it's time to party. Well, you're going to spend, and I know as we get older, we feel it more.
Party
You're
during
going
the
to,
daytime.
yeah, party during the day, exactly. So do what Asians do, Asia University, which is have daytime gigs. So if you're going to have a late night on a Friday night or Saturday night, you're going to play catch up all week just to catch up. And so this stuff nowadays, I don't even bother. When it
Yeah.
doesn't matter, I could be watching, could be a weekend or something, watching a movie. As soon as I'm tired, straight to bed. I don't mess about. The movie can wait. My body won't. So
Yeah. Yeah.
brilliant, wonderful. So Ashish, thank you ever so much.
Thank
We
you to
covered a
you.
lot. You're welcome. We've covered a lot. So if you find this useful, if you don't find this useful, tell us, by the way. But if you do find this useful, let us know. And also tell us what are the health areas you want to cover. So we could be covering autoimmune disease and as well as chronic diseases.
Yeah.
Let us know what you want to hear. This discussion isn't for the sake of us talking to each other and pretending we know so much. We don't know nothing. We just pretend we know a little bit. So it's not just about Ashish and I. We can talk on the phone about this kind of stuff. If
Yeah.
you've got somebody, if you're somebody with infertility issues, then get hold of Ashish. That's this area she specializes in. I mean, I've helped so many people in so many areas, but my own specialty is type 2 diabetes. And one of the issues, one of the reasons I wanted to cover the sleep area is this, that sleeplessness, so broken sleep, poor sleep hygiene is strongly correlated with people with type 2 diabetes. It exacerbates it,
Mm.
it makes it worse. So, one of your best things you can do, all the stuff we suggested, if you have type 2 diabetes, all the things we suggested, integrate into your life, and you will find it'll be easier to reduce or reverse type 2 diabetes.
Yeah.
So, um, okay, so thanks for watching, and we will see you next time, same place, live, 7 o'clock UK time. Bye for now.
Next Monday.
Monday. Bye bye.
Bye bye.